Blood, Moon, Burn, and Range Installation. William Hovey Smith, 2015. I'm the author of Backyard Deer Hunting and also Extreme Muzzleloading. And this is one phase of me putting in a 300-yard range so I can test my muzzleloaders.
This is Hovey Smith with Hovey's Outdoor Adventures. And we are going to proceed to work on our 300-yard range located in my food plot in central Georgia. Now the first thing we're going to do is burn this pile of material here. This consists of logs and woody material that I've salvaged from my field trails and also cut from around the edges of this plot and piled here. There's also a couple of old mattresses on it I'm going to burn up. Now the day today counts for a fine day in England. It's cloudy, overcast, very light mist. In short, I can burn this big pile safely without having fear of any flames getting out and going very far or catching up the surrounding vegetation. Well, we're about to do it to it now. Got the torch in. It's starting to catch. This is an ideal day to completely burn this pile. The drier material that was protected by the mattress is now in full flame. I've used my Bushnell rangefinder here to range to my shooting stand back there. And there's a very large pine tree very near, and that I've been using and measured many times to be about 100 yards, and indeed it is. So we're going to start a pile of logs here, and that's going to be our first 100-yard marker. The lighter pieces of pine I can easily manhandle, but these heavier and longer pieces of oak I cannot. So consequently I'm going to use my truck winch to move them. And you'll notice I have rolled the log so that it cinches up about the balance point of that cut section. And you'll see the reason for that shortly. We've now hooked up the smaller cable to the winch cable, and we're now going to pull that section of log up to where I have the smaller pieces of pine already stacked. What we're going to be attempting here is to see if we can use the winch on our game hoisting tripod, plus perhaps the winch on the truck, or both, to maneuver that section of log over the smaller pile I have and center it. Okay, that seems to be about as much as that will do. I'll need a little help from the truck. Well, that did not work. I went ahead and manhandled that first section of log up to the center of the pile on top of those pines, and now I'm going to pull the second and heaviest piece of oak up and see if I can position it behind that pile. Now, with the center of the pressure being more nearly in the center of the tripod, I'm going to see if I can lift and pivot that log section up enough to put it behind the large one that's already on the smaller pine logs, and then brace it with that smaller log behind. It is lifting, but it's taking real pressure to do it. Okay. Well, it did get it up there, didn't it? All right. Maybe I can give it a little help here. Yeah. Okay. All right. All retrieved. One more cap piece to put on top. There we go. Look. Number one backstop complete. Rough. Only two more to do. For those who are interested in the winch itself, this is it. And it's an aftermarket winch. And I had it put on this also aftermarket bumper guard, brush guard, deer deflector, which we really need here in the southeast. And it runs off the battery. And I've been running it exclusively off the battery, so here on out I'm going to actually start up the engine and run it. But before I do, I wanted to show you how it works. It does have a lever here that releases the winch. You turn it this way, then the cable will freewheel forwards. This is a detachable control, so you keep this inside the cab of your vehicle. And it has a little cord to it, say about 6 or 8 feet. And so now I'm just going to wind it up and take the cable in. When you're winding cable, you want to keep tension on it. My hands are pretty tough, so I'm not using gloves, but ultimately this will become so ratty you'll have to have them. Okay, that's it there. That's as much as you take up. Our burn pile is doing very nicely. The weather conditions are remaining almost exactly like they were when they started. But I am finding out that where I am standing, right about here, is 199 yards. Close enough to 200. So actually my pile should be right here, and I've got it about 20 yards further up. So what I'm going to do is go back and get my lawn tractor and cart and move the material more nearly back here where it needs to be. Well, our 200-yard backstop has now been completed, so we now have about 100 and 200 yards. And it's getting to be about dark. Yes, it is, Hound Doggy. It's getting to be about dark. So I think we're going to call it quits. Perhaps you see behind me now a blue tank. I'm going to use that for a target. It's an old pressure tank and it's no good at all. So we're going to make that a gong out there. And that's going to be about 250 yards by the time I get to the wood line. So that and some timber behind it is going to make this range good. So we pretty well got it done. This much by hand, actually. We went back and got our lawn tractor and got our little cart, and then we moved our wood here and just stacked it from that. We didn't really use the tripod again. With a lighter weight pine, it wasn't really needed. With this heavier oak and pecan, yeah, you needed something to help you lift it. Now we still got our burn pile over there, and it's still going. The weather has been very constant all day, overcast, cloudy, intermittent misty rain, an ideal day for burning a pile like this. Well, our fire for the blood moon and eclipse tonight is doing very, very good indeed. If it doesn't rain on it and get too wet, I'll actually rake and sieve this stuff, this ash, and I'll spread it for fertilizer. We're back with our lawn tractor, cart, and gear at the burn pile. The poor mattress here is, of course, rendered down just to metal. So we're going to restack this material and see if we can get more complete combustion. Well, as you can see, that material that I added to what was still burning was eagerly accepted. Working with this cart has some significant advantages. First off, the cart has a low ground clearance. That means you don't have to lift as high. Secondly, it has a reasonable capacity, as you can see. Then, when you're offloading the logs, you sort of pick up and pivot rather than having to physically lift, carry, haul, and drop. So you handle the pieces not so long, you don't have to fiddle as much with them. Now these are nice slick round logs, so they do roll, and that's also an alternative method of moving these things. But we're going to position that big one in the back over to the rear of this pile, and that'll sort of anchor it, and then we'll start piling up using that as a base. We have now completed that step, and so we just keep piling the logs higher and make our backstop. This finishes up our range. This is a 250-yard barrier that you see here before you, and this has that pressure tank in it. And further up you can see the 200-yard barrier, and then the pine tree, which is at 100 yards, and then finally the elevated shooting box at the end of this cut lane. So yeah, now there are many formal range plans that you can get from the NRA and the MLRA and other sources. This is not meant to be a public range. This is for my use for the development of the guns that I use. But for testing guns at a hunt club, yeah, you can do something like this. And actually, if you had about 3 willing guys and some vehicles and a couple of chainsaws and everything halfway worked, yeah, this is a pretty easy 2-day project for a hunt club. Now, for a single guy doing it all and dragging in the wood and all this kind of stuff, yeah, it takes a bit longer. But now, we do have some cut off ends here. You'll notice at the end of this pile, and the reason I cut these off is not for aesthetic reasons, but so I don't hit them with a lawnmower. Because when I come back and mow this stuff, I mean, it may be knee high. So I want to remove these possible obstacles so I don't knock my log pile down when I mow. So that's the reason for this. And guess what? We still have a little fire going to burn these things. The last vestige of our fire is going here, and I banked the rest of this stuff and added the new material to this last remaining unburned log. So this will last several hours yet, probably 4 or 5. But for now, this is Hovey Smith reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe, goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.
Besides extreme muzzleloading and backyard deer hunting, I have other muzzleloading books. These include Muzzleloaders for Hunters, Hunting Big and Small Game with Muzzleloading Pistols, and Shooting and Maintaining Your Muzzleloader. I also have a new series of business books under the Profit series, and the first of these is Ideas for New Businesses, Finding Ideas for Starting Your Million or Billion-Dollar Business. And here is a little blurb about me and that book. Now, among the muzzleloaders I'm going to be testing is the Remington Ultimate Muzzleloader. For more information on my books, blogs, and over 450 videos, go to my website, www.hoviesmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.